Hey everyone, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. Welcome to the NoDQ panel. I am being joined by my guests. First, we have the West Coast professor, good old JM, Jeff Meacham. We also have the self-proclaimed greatest columnist in NoDQ.com history. We have Virtue. And our special guest today, representing Australia, we have Alex. How you doing today, Alex? Pretty early over there.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started on the time. But first of all, gentlemen, thank you for having me. Opportunities don't come like this every day, so you got to have to make the most of it and sacrifice. And so here we go. Let's do this.
I appreciate your enthusiasm and your support. And have you had breakfast yet?
I haven't had coffee or anything, so if I get grumpy, forgive me. But it should be okay.
Well, you'll be good for the rest of us. I mean, we're all a bunch of grumpy bastards, so... We'll see how this thing goes.
I've got football in a couple of hours as well, so I need to keep my momentum down.
Now that's soccer over there.
Australian football, the Mighty Tigers.
There we go. Right on.
So I'm confused.
Representing.
Is that American football then?
It's something completely different. I'll have to show you a video one day, man. Okay. Might take you a while to understand.
Aaron, you think American football is tough? Watch some Australian football. You'll be blown away, brother.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm out of my element here. Let's stick to the
very much so.
Let's stick to what we're here to talk about, and that's professional wrestling. We have today's topic as the biggest matches that did not happen. So these are dream matches that we were all hoping to see, and for whatever reason, they did not happen. I put up a poll on NoDQ.com asking fans what they thought, and I have a list of matches here. Virtue, I want to ask you today, what do you think is number one? Actually, I do not have these in order, so never mind. I'll just go ahead and ask you. I know. In your opinion, what do you think was the biggest match that WWE could have done, or any promotion, but we never got to see it? What would be number one?
Based on the timelines here, obviously there's a lot of matches I have written down that I wanted to see, but they might, they probably wouldn't have happened. Sting versus Undertaker.
Right. That's definitely a match that fans have been fantasizing about for many years. And, Sting said he wanted to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but unfortunately that was not meant to be. Now, if Sting had not gotten hurt, maybe we would have seen it. But apparently WWE never really wanted to do that match. So even if Sting had stayed healthy and not gotten injured during the match with Seth Rollins, I'm not sure if we would have ever seen that match. I mean, I think it was 5 years too late. I think in 2011, when somebody made that fan poster, I'm not sure if you guys remember that. They made this fan poster. Somebody did, and Sting, I believe his TNA deal was up, and there was heavy speculation about him coming in. I think that's when they should have done it, WrestleMania 27. Jeff, what do you think?
I think that it was the biggest match that was never even booked. Some of my lists that were either booked or in the plans but never actually came to fruition, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, this is one of those matches where, we had the franchises of companies. We had Hogan versus Sting. We had Hogan versus Flair in WCW. But we never had the guy from WWE, The Undertaker, versus the guy from WCW and TNA, Sting. And I think that's a huge loss for any fan that is it's been a fan as long as most of us have been fans. Virtue, what do you think?
I think if it would have happened, I think Undertaker still should have been undefeated if it did. I think Sting coming in to challenge the Undertaker's streak would have really made it special. It could have still happened after the Lesnar loss. But to me, Dark Sting versus Dark Undertaker. Because they've had different, American Badass and, the Blonde Sting. That wouldn't have worked. So definitely Dark Sting of WCW versus Dark Taker. That would have been, that wouldn't have been like my cup of tea, but I would have got it. And I actually would have probably typed it up on the internet like most people would have. I'm going to pass it down to the Kiwi. I probably just shouldn't have said that. But I heard that from a movie. Owen Wilson said it in Wedding Crashers, man. But anyway.
Oh, good, man. Oh, good. Well, you talk about Sting and Taker. Sting's my guy. He's the reason why I got into wrestling in the first place. So But saying that, it would have been a dream match. But I still think Taker should have gone over Sting, only because it is the Taker streak.
Yeah,
it should never have been broken.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Should never have been broken. And even they could have put on a hell of a match like Taker does year after year when he did. But I would have personally, win, lose or draw, I would have given it a standing ovation. But, Sting for me is always my guy, but he would have come up short. But it was still worth every penny.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would have been one of those matches where when it was over, they would have hugged and the crowd would have given them both standing ovations. Would have been a really cool moment. So, yeah, I think that was definitely a disappointment that we did not get to see that match.
Well, let me ask the panel. This is kind of a little bit off topic, but since we're talking about Undertaker and whatnot, do you guys, all three of you, think that end of an era between Triple H and Undertaker should have been end of an era?
Well,
their last matches, period.
In hindsight, with what happened at WrestleMania 30, I would say so.
Or they should have never said it. Like, if they never said end of an era, and then they both ended up wrestling several matches again against different people, that would have been fine. But they said it. Like Rock versus Cena, once in a lifetime, and then they did it again. Don't say once in a lifetime then.
Yeah, it's just a cheap marketing ploy.
It is. It's what people buy tickets for. The last time, Hell in a Cell, it's what you wanted to see. Then I'll see you next year.
Yeah, exactly.
The purpose.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to bring up Steve Austin. Steve Austin did end up retiring perhaps sooner than we would have liked to have seen. If he had not dealt with so many injuries over the years, I think we would have seen more out of Steve Austin. And there were some potential dream matches that were left on the table we never got to see. There are two I want to bring up, and I'll get your guys' opinions. The first one is Austin versus Goldberg, which I think that if WWE played their cards right during the Attitude Era, when WCW went under, I think WWE should have bought out Goldberg's WCW deal, and they should have had Goldberg crash WrestleMania, start the invasion angle hot with Goldberg leading the pack, and setting up for next year's WrestleMania, Steve Austin versus Goldberg. Austin representing WWF, Goldberg representing WCW, which would have won at Invasion, the 5-on-5 match. WCW would have won with Goldberg in charge, and Nitro would have gone SmackDown. WrestleMania, you do Austin versus Goldberg in the Battle of the Brands. And we have an invasion of our own here on the Virtue channel. So that's Austin and Goldberg. And again, I'll get your guys' thoughts.
Perfectly.
That was. I mean, I'm pretty good at ad-libbing here. So we had Austin and Goldberg, and then Austin and Hogan, which is the battle of arguably the two biggest draws in wrestling history. The closest we got to it was the Raw before WrestleMania 18 when they had the NWO, the three NWO guys, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, against Austin and The Rock. And there were a couple of times where Austin and Hogan got in the ring and worked, but it was only for a couple of minutes. We didn't get to see the one-on-one Austin-Goldberg match. So I also want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Should WWE have done Austin and Hogan instead of Austin and Rock at WrestleMania? So on all that, I'll get your guys' thoughts. First, let's get your thoughts, Alex, your thoughts on both of those matches.
Well, Austin and Goldberg, I wouldn't have been as excited as, say, Austin and Hogan, to be honest with you. Personally, Goldberg was Goldberg, but since his current run, the original Goldberg run in WWE was not the Goldberg we all grew up with. So I think I wouldn't have been a bigger fan if they tried to do a 20 to 25 minute, shoot match. It just would have. It's not Goldberg style. It's just, it takes two people to put on a good match. So even though it's on paper it sounds great, as a fan watching it, you'll be like, oh, hurry up and just pin him already. I just don't think it will draw as people think it might. Personally.
Well, it would have had to have been under the right circumstances, I think. You would have had to have done it when Goldberg was red hot, and WWE would have had to book him like Goldberg. If they had booked him like WWE Goldberg, then I think the match would have been a disappointment. Much like, Goldberg and Rock. A lot of people consider that to be a really disappointing match. That should have been like one of the most epic dream matches of all time, and it fell pretty flat. So there is a chance Austin and Goldberg would have fallen flat as well. What about Austin and Hogan? You would say that's a match you would have rather seen?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I was actually watching Hogan and Rock from 18 the other day, and just the stare down before the match, and you felt it even sitting at home. You got goosebumps on your arm.
Absolutely.
Now replace The Rock with Austin. think of all the money they would have made out of that, because that's the match everyone wanted to see. Not the yellow and red Hogan, Hollywood Hogan, because he was WCW. That was the one I'd rather see.
I agree with you on that.
But saying that would be the match, the two biggest stars, Vince's two biggest stars over the last 20-odd years, going one-on-one. I don't think anyone cares what type of match it is. They just want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, Jeff?
I absolutely agree with you on all points. Austin Goldberg was the match that was even teased on the Tonight Show at one point. It was mainstream coverage, and it never happened. And I agree 100% with you on WWF investing the money properly. I mean, they made how much 2001? Like, seriously?
An insane amount of money.
They could have afforded Goldberg and Scott Steiner and Ric Flair and the NWO and all these guys, and they never did it until it was too late with every single one of those guys. If Goldberg had come in, led the charge of the invasion against the WWF, it would have been completely different. It would have gone for a full year, like culminating in Austin Goldberg at WrestleMania. Right. It would have been probably the greatest storyline we've ever seen.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick before you continue, sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say maybe for another video we can talk about the invasion and all the ways it went wrong and all the ideas that we all have that could have made it better. But that's for another video. That's a whole other topic.
Is there a video limit on YouTube as far as time-wise? Just asking a question.
There is not.
Okay, good. We can go because I can bit by myself for 2 hours on the invasion alone.
Yeah,
anyway, Goldberg and Hogan and Austin is one of those matches where, you know, even as early as 1994 when Hogan arrived at WCW, they were talking about the young hotshot stunning Steve Austin challenging the immortal Hulk Hogan in WCW, and it never happened. That's why Austin left and went to ECW in the first place. So I think that would have been the match, and I agree with you, it being Hollywood Hogan to be the one to challenge Steve Austin, but I think it would be interesting if we had the red and yellow with the beard, that Hulk Hogan against Steve Austin as well. What do you think, Virtue?
Goldberg and Austin should have happened, like you guys said, with the whole WCW invasion angle. They could have knocked that out of the park, and it could have carried over for at least a good year. Now, I know Austin's health was declining a little bit, or, you know, his in-ring ability. I don't think him and Hogan would have turned out too well. I'm glad they went Rock Hogan, because The Rock still had the agility to pull it off. That's why I've said in the previous videos that, you know, Jeff said, well, if you turn the crowd noise down of Rock and Hogan, it wasn't that good of a match. I disagree. It was right up there with the Savage Hogan matches. So I think the Goldberg-Austin match should have definitely happened, because of that could have been Vince's true way. If he would have got Goldberg to lose to Austin and Steiner, that could have been the nail in the coffin to WCW that Vince, you know, really loved, and it would have been more memorable. We look back at it now, and the demise of WCW is more talked about from its booking and Vince Russo and guys like that than Vince buying them out. With that said, I would like to actually have seen, and Lesnar really wasn't on the scene yet, but Austin Lesnar. That's what I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, that's when Austin walked out
Lesnar
on
was
the company.
still young. I think Lesnar was still an OVW at the time.
Well, I think if they had done what Austin said when he walked out, if they had built Austin versus Lesnar, it would have been a huge money.
Oh, absolutely. That's the match people wanted to see. Like, you can't have it on. I agree with Austin doing it on. He was willing to do the job, but it shouldn't have been on a Monday Night Raw. It should have been on a pay-per-view.
No hype, no build, just boom, job out. Like,
that was pretty stupid. Yeah. I mean, it was bad for Austin to walk out, but at the same time, I get his mentality and being frustrated. I mean, I'd be frustrated too, and at some point you got to stand up to the company, and, you know, I think it was wrong to walk out on the fans, but at the same time you got to make a statement if you feel the company's making a bad decision, and Austin's one of the few guys that could get away with it. I mean, if just some random guy did it, they would be pretty much excommunicated from the company. It would be a bad situation for them. Now, going back to Hogan real quick, I wanted to mention, you know, Alex, you talked about Hollywood Hogan versus Steve Austin. That would have fit really well. I think with the red and yellow Hogan, I think Hogan as the red and yellow character versus John Cena would have been a really interesting match, and that's a match I see a lot of people bring up. The problem is, you know, by the time Cena really got big, Hogan was more or less, you know, very much washed up and could barely do anything. But if they were able to make it work, like, say, 2006 or 2007, do you think it would have been an entertaining match? I'll start with you, Jeff. Your thoughts.
Well, there's been no bigger supporter of the two most overrated guys in the world than John Cena, Hulk Hogan, than me. And I would have liked to have seen this, but I think, like you said, Aaron, it would have had complete star alignment. Hogan would have had to have been healthy, and Cena would have had to have been in the right situation, frame of mind. It would have had so many variables that could have totally screwed this up. So if the stars all aligned, it would have been entertaining. It wouldn't have been a 5-star Meltzer match by any means, but it would have been one of those matches where we got a passing the torch type deal, which is what we wanted from Austin Hogan. So it would have been good in that respect. But Alex seems to have something on his mind. He was laughing hysterically when I mentioned the overrating situation.
No, you talk about Cena, and I know you've been a fan of them for ages, and half the internet thinks Cena's the worst person on the planet. But but you're right. It's another 2 dream icon. I was just wondering, would Cena sell like Shawn Michaels did at SummerSlam 05 to Hogan?
You know what? I think he would. I really think he actually would for Hogan.
No, I reckon that's a match everyone wants to see, though. Like 2 muscle-bound freaks just going at it, and Cena probably would have to get the win. Wouldn't you reckon?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Logically, yes, because at 2006 he was still on the rise. So yeah, he would have needed a big win from Hogan there. I think so.
Yeah, Hogan just wanted to be in matches where he could get the win. With Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton. But yeah, I think Cena would have needed to have gone over. That would have been the right booking decision. Alex, I want to ask you, of the matches we mentioned, how about something we haven't mentioned yet? Like, what's at the top of your list of matches that you would have liked to have seen that never happened?
I don't know if you guys agree, but I reckon Bret Hart versus Kurt Angle.
I have that right here on the list. I have that right here.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean,
I just think...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I just think you got 2 best technical wrestlers on the planet at their peak. I'm talking like Bret Hart versus the matches Mr. Perfect and these guys, and Kurt Angle on the rise when these matches was Lesnar. Amateur wrestler background, submission specialist. What more do you want?
I mean,
it would be back and
definitely.
forth.
And I wanted to add to that, what I was going to say was Kurt Angle in the early 2000s, he pitched the idea. He wanted to face Bret. He wanted Bret to come back. Unfortunately, because of Bret's health, the concussions and everything, Bret could not come back. And I think that's really unfortunate. I think if Bret had not suffered the career-ending concussion, from Goldberg and the kick at Starrcade, I think Bret would have come back. I think a match with Kurt Angle would have convinced Bret to come back to WWE and bury the hatchet, because, I mean, that would have been a really awesome match. And how can you turn down a match with an Olympic gold medalist? I think Bret would have come back for that if he was healthy.
I know for a fact he would have, because he, when he left WCW and he was fired from WCW, however you want to say it, he mentioned in his book he had a dream about wrestling Kurt Angle, who was the world champion at the time. So, he dreamed about it himself, and I think I don't know if he said it in the book, but I think he said in an interview that had Vince pitched it to him, had he been healthy, he would have done it.
Right. I see you're in deep thought, Virtue. Is there something you would like to add to this discussion?
Deep thoughts with
There's
Virtue.
There's two matches, and the first one I wanted to see, and I'll name the blockbuster one most. And I don't know how his health was, in the early 2000s, but I wanted to see Rock versus Randy Savage.
Ooh.
I really,
yeah.
I mean, Randy just kind of like stopped wrestling. I know he showed up in TNA a couple times. I don't even remember what happened with that. But like Rock and Randy, from a promo level,
yeah, we were there.
Yeah.
From a promo level leading into it, you couldn't. That would have probably been the most entertaining thing in the world. So, what's your guys' thoughts on if there was a Rock and Savage potential match?
Oh, that would have been great, man.
It really would have depended when in the 2000s it was. If it was like
early,
if when Randy was doing the Spider-Man movie, it would have been phenomenal. If it would have been when he was in TNA, not so much.
Hey,
like 2001 or 2, right around the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, well,
right.
I think 99 would have been a good time. I remember when Savage came back and tried to make himself look hip and cool, changing his look and all that. He came out on Nitro and he said, let me lay the smackdown for you. So he blatantly just ripped off the Rock's catchphrase.
Yeah, that was on the Nitro after Spring Stampede when he gave when he helped Page win the title. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jim, my heart. I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt you. My heart just skipped a beat when you said Rock versus Randy Savage.
Oh.
So, well done, mate. Well done.
That was
I never even thought about it.
Did you see me looking down at my paper for 5 minutes?
I can't believe no one's ever even thought about it until now. They probably have, but I just can't believe nobody's even put those two together. So, well done.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Savage versus just about any of the modern stars, I think, would be an awesome dream match.
And then my other one, real quick, would have been, had he not had the tragedy, Owen Hart versus Chris Jericho. My two favorite wrestlers of all time. That would have been for me.
That's a great choice, actually. I really like that. Yeah. I think I've talked about this before in one of my videos over the years. There have been so many of them, almost 1,000. There was, a question I got about Owen Hart and what he would have done if he had stayed in WWE. Some people think he would have just faded away, but I think Owen would have had a late career resurgence because right after Owen died, you had Chris Jericho come in, you had Chris Benoit come in. All of a sudden, the work rate got so much better in WWE at the end of 1999 and early 2000. Owen would have been able to shine again, having great matches with Jericho, Benoit, Dean Malenko. I mean,
Eddie Guerrero.
Owen would have been back in the mix. I think his career would have resurged. I think Owen would have had
I was going to say, when he re-signed with Vince, the same time Bret did, it was for 3 years. So it would have been the end of 2000, his contract would have ended. So he would have had Benoit, Malenko, Jericho, Eddie, all those guys, come in to face that. Oh my God, I'm having a moment thinking about it.
He was losing his passion for wrestling, but I think that would have lit it up again. I think it would have gotten him motivated to get back in the game and be possibly the best he ever was in his entire career. So I definitely, sometimes the what if questions are really hard to answer, but I think Owen would have definitely had a resurgence in the quality of his output and becoming a major star again in WWE. That's just really.
I agree, absolutely, wholeheartedly agree.
That would have been absolutely epic.
Yeah, definitely. Another match I wanted to mention, Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan. That's a match that WWE teased in 2013 with no intentions of delivering it. They had Shawn Michaels there as the guest referee for the Hell in a Cell match between Bryan and Randy Orton, which was stupid. You tease a match, but then you don't deliver. I mean, I was pretty frustrated with that. And, historically, WWE doesn't do that. They usually don't tease something and then fail to deliver on it. That was one of those occasions where they did that angle when Michaels had no intentions of coming back. Daniel Bryan versus Shawn Michaels. Shawn helped train Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
And I think that match would have been unbelievable. If Shawn was going to come out of retirement, I think a match with Daniel Bryan would have been the perfect match for him to do. Also, on that similar topic, Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles, this past January in the Alamo Dome.
I know.
That fan poster, everyone was getting so excited. If Shawn was going to come back, that would have been perfect. So, Virtue, your thoughts on the HBK matches, Bryan and AJ Styles?
Mentor versus student. And, that might take the holy grail if that happened as the greatest match of all time. I'm not saying, we'll never know, but think about the great matches Michaels had late in his career against The Undertaker. You tell me he wouldn't have got everything out of Daniel Bryan and vice versa. So, yeah, I had that written down, but I didn't think anyone would bring it up, so good job.
Jeff, your thoughts?
I think those two would have been unbelievable matches, but you kind of made me think about a third match when you were mentioning those. What about in WWE, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan?
Ooh, yes.
We never saw that. We saw it a bunch of times at PWG, but we never saw it in WWE. That would have been something too. But yeah, Shawn Michaels against pretty much anybody in the company would have been nice to see one more time. But those two in particular, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, I'm just calling Bryan Danielson, those two guys who have been the best pure wrestlers, that came from the indies to WWE, would have been unbelievable matches. Truly phenomenal, no question about it.
Yeah, and how about Randy Savage and Shawn Michaels? I mean, Shawn was on the rise when Randy Savage left. If Savage had stuck around, we might have gone to seen that match on a major pay-per-view. I think they did wrestle.
UK Rampage. It's on the network now.
But that was when Shawn was still on the rise. I'm talking about like 95 or 96. When Savage could still go. That would have been an unbelievable match.
Well, hey, what about this one, Aaron? What about Rock and HBK?
Yes, that was one that fans were talking about for the longest time. I think it was just a matter of, the timing wasn't right for that match to happen. There's some speculation that there was backstage heat between the two of them, but I doubt that would have prevented them from working with each other because that would have been money, and both guys are professionals. And
I have a feeling it happened at the house, just we just don't know about it.
I don't know about that, but that would have been an unbelievable match if they had gone in the ring together. Unfortunately, by the time Shawn came back, Rock was already on his way out to do the movies. Alex, your thoughts on that and any other matches you want to add?
I think we should just make a separate episode of Shawn Michaels' dream matches because he could have had so many.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're the greatest performer of all time, you're going to get thrown in. And this is
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you're right with Bryan versus Michaels, student versus mentor. Just talking about it, just get a bit, I don't know, I feel just excited just thinking about it, because they will just put on an absolute clinic, and they can go an hour. They can even do a 90-minute draw if they wanted to.
Oh, man. First ever 90-minute Iron Man match.
I reckon they could, though, they're both at their prime. No, that's just something will just be worth absolute every penny on the planet, so...
Yep.
But here's another one. What about I don't know if you saw this in the Indies, you guys, but what about if we had Punk versus Styles?
In WWE?
In a WWE ring.
Yeah, that'd been cool. Yeah, because I think somebody I saw did it. I forget what company, but somebody did it.
Yeah, if WWE did that, it would have been, unbelievable.
Huge. It would have been huge.
Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, AJ Styles versus CM Punk. There's a lot of big matches. Unfortunately,
hey, did Punk ever face Daniel Bryan one-on-one in a big match?
I think on a pay-per-view, like over the limit,
2011.
Okay.
But not
before Bryan got too big, though, probably.
Right.
Yeah. What about John Cena versus The Undertaker? I mean, there's still, I guess, a remote chance we could see that match if Undertaker's not completely retired.
Well, you know what? But we saw the Biker Taker versus John Cena, so we've kind of seen that, but not really. Yeah,
but I think that's one of the biggest matches WWE could have possibly done over the last several years, especially when Undertaker's streak was still going. I talked about this years ago when I did a video like this. How about John Cena versus The Undertaker with the streak on the line in a submission match? Two guys that are known for never giving up in a submission match at WrestleMania with the streak on the line. How big would that have been?
Yep. Another match that doesn't get brought up because it actually did happen later, but it should have happened at WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair.
I agree.
Yeah.
That should have been the way to close out Hulk Hogan's WWF career. WrestleMania 8, out he goes, win or lose. It would have been a great...
Didn't they wrestle on WCW, though?
Well, that's what I said. It did happen later, but it was in WCW. It never happened in WWF except on house shows, one of which I was at. So, to see those two, the two biggest names of the 80s at WrestleMania would have been something special.
Did we mention Stone Cold versus CM Punk?
No, we did not.
I scratched it off because I mean that probably would have never happened because Punk was in the Indies back then. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm talking about 2011. If Austin was going to come back for one more match, when Punk was dropping the pipe bomb,
that's becoming more like a dream match though. Because I mean, Austin competing, I just don't see it health wise.
Yeah, I think
that would have been more like a dream match.
I think Punk was lobbying for it though because he was wearing the Stone Cold shirt on Raw, and I remember they had that little face-to-face backstage confrontation. So I think Punk wanted it. I don't think Austin was really interested in coming back. Same way Shawn's not really interested in coming back. With all due respect to AJ, I just think Shawn is done.
Do you guys remember though? They teased that with that Jim Ross interview as well, Stone Cold and CM Punk as well. When he did for that
Yes, I remember that now.
So it wasn't that. I don't know if it was in. It wasn't going to happen. They definitely teased it a long way, even if they had the two in an interview. That was one of the best things I've seen, though, interview-wise. It didn't have to mean much, but just the thought of it, watch them talking it up.
Yeah, just the two of them in a ring together. Just you can feel the intensity. As Gorilla Monsoon, you could cut it with a knife.
Absolutely. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, just the two of them, they definitely, I think, would have had a lot of chemistry working together. So that's unfortunate. You guys remember that picture? Did you see that picture from years ago with Austin and CM Punk when he was a kid? With the orange hair, the spiked hair. That was pretty funny.
What about a match that we could still see? I'm voting for Cena versus Reigns.
Well, I think there's a fairly good chance we will see that.
I want to see Reigns go over Cena in the biggest way.
If that doesn't happen before December of next year, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. Alex, it was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for contributing. This has been a great series we've done so far with the NoDQ panel. So I'm thankful for everyone that's been on. Hopefully, we'll have more guests in the coming weeks. Alex, any plugs you would like to get out? Anything you would like to promote to the viewers out there?
Not much. You can follow me on Twitter at Dainsy18. Facebook. If you have me, good luck to you. But I'm pretty private with my Facebook Live. So
good man, good.
Even though you don't want to accept my friend request, Jeff. That's fine. But anyway.
I didn't.
Oh,
no, I'm joking, mate.
Snap. Well, Jeff is known for declining. Jeff is like, F you. If I don't know you, go to hell.
I know. F you.
Well, you know what?
I keep my Facebook private.
You know what? Now you guys have talked in person. Well, not really
there
in person,
you go.
But face to face.
So add me again, brother. We'll make
this is
happen.
as close to face to face as possible when we live on opposite sides of the planet.
I'd just like to say to you guys, thank you for this opportunity once again for contributing. It's been from all your days from XMV Audio to now.
Wow.
Thank you very much. You know, it's been It's been a great time. All even your storylines used to chuck into your programmings and everything.
This guy's a fan, Ref. Book him again.
This is why I love this concept, so we can have some of the loyal viewers from over the years participate and get involved. I'm really glad we decided to go with this series here.
Well, okay. So question.
Yeah, this concept works, by the way. And you know who I'm talking about.
That's it. What was your favorite interview from the old Extreme Mayhem show? On the spot.
Put him on the spot here. I got a dog named Spot.
Hey, tweet him later. So you
can Spot, dog, Spot, Spot.
Well, you had the interview when you were telling people to back off when you were interviewing AJ Styles and Saban. Was that the one? Was that you in the background going crazy?
Well, that in that video, Styles.
You were really pissed, man.
No. What happened was AJ was on the balcony at the Sweatbox where PWG taped, and he came on the balcony and said
a certain slur.
Saban's a homophobic slur, and Saban looked right on the camera and said, AJ's a homophobic slur. And Aaron's like, oh God.
Well, I mean, back then, it wasn't as extreme, but now, there'd be no way I'd be able to post that.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was watching A Few Good Men the other day, and that word was used very heavily, and I'm going, wouldn't work now. No way.
I think I actually think it is on the YouTube channel now that I.
Oh my God!
It's somewhere buried in the depths
in the archives.
YouTube. Yeah.
Oh my God! We gotta find that, Aaron.
Yeah. So guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to keep in mind, I've got SummerSlam off for work because it's on a Monday, 10 o'clock here, and I only take two pay-per-views off a year, which is Mania and SummerSlam.
Good man.
And then Raw's on at work, SmackDown's on when I'm at work, so I never watch it as much as I used to. So, and because of the internet, you don't really need to watch it because it's always spoiled anyway. So,
sorry,
but no, don't worry about it. It's all good reporting. That's your job.
I ruined wrestling apparently.
Oh, well, it was you who did it.
Meltzer, brother.
It was you. It wasn't Dave Meltzer.
Well,
it's
people
me,
just
Alex.
Say, people just say I ruined wrestling. Alex. And sites like NoDQ ruined wrestling for spoiling all the shows. I'm like, nobody told you have to click on it.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, once again, thank you to all the viewers as well. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you guys accepting me into the NoDQ family.
Absolutely, and we'll keep you in the address book, and we're going to have other guests on in future weeks, but if we got an opportunity to bring you in, we'll definitely see if we can get you back on again. For all you guys watching out there, leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you thought about the video. What matches did we not mention that we should have included? Leave your thoughts on NoDQ in the YouTube channel, and follow Jeff at _Jeff Meacham and Virtue at NoDQ_Virtue. Almost forgot it again. I'm still forgetting it. All right, guys. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the NoDQ panel. We will see you again next time.